Welcome back to February 9th, 1998. Raw is War is live from Evansville, Indiana. And this is the go home show before In Your House, No Way Out of Texas, which is the very last In Your House pay per view. And to celebrate that, Mike Sweeney and myself are going to have a huge announcement about who the third person we're going to have to rewatch In Your House, No Way Out of Texas with us next week. You're not going to want to miss that. Join us as we break down the Raw from February 9th, 1998. This is Analyzing Attitude. Thanks for watching. Welcome back into Analyzing Attitude, episode 16. Jimmy Allen and the good doctor Mike Sweeney with you here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Analyzing Attitude. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to give away a free PlayStation 5. I think we're going to give away a free PlayStation 5 every 1,000 subscribers. So you're going to be able to draw multiple times into a brand new PlayStation as well. Don't forget to give us like and subscribe and give us an oh hell yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Down in the comments below. We're not going to make you wait. We're so excited. We got to get this off our chest about who the third man is for No Way Out 1998. That's going to be next week's episode. You're not going to want to miss it. Spoiler alert, we've already pre-recorded it. It's a fantastic watch. You're going to love it. We had so much fun doing it because it was with the one and the only Conrad Thompson from Ad Free Shows. It's savewithconrad.com. His insight about this pay-per-view, he's rewatched it both with Bruce Pritchard and Jim Ross. He had so many great stories to tell us along the way. We had to get it out of the way. Thank you to Conrad for doing it. You're going to want to like and subscribe to Analyzing Attitude to get notified when that goes live because you're not going to miss this one, Mike. It was a ton of fun.
Oh, absolutely. Conrad's very knowledgeable, very funny. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Like that, it was a good conversation with Conrad, and it was kind of a bucket list thing for me because I've been watching him for a long time, and I got to say, hey, it's Conrad Thompson.
You know what, man? Listen, it was really weird how comfortable the three of us were having that conversation.
That's
And
right.
it's a testimonial to how good he is at what he does. He's known as the Podfather for a reason, but like it felt like we were talking to a guy that's been watching this entire watch along with us and an old friend. I mean, he just fit right into the show perfectly and
100%.
kind of felt like he'd been here the whole time.
Absolutely. It was like I don't know, PB&J, man. It gelled real good right off the bat, and I can't wait for everyone to see the episode.
Well, unfortunately, before we get to that, we got to get to this stinker of a show. This is going to be a fun rewatch. We're going to talk about some things along the way, but this was not great. We're going to get into why for a couple of different reasons. I don't remember this ever happening, but we kick off the show with Sonny dressed as Marilyn Monroe singing "Happy Birthday" to classy Freddie Blassie, who turned 80 on this evening. Obviously, Freddie no longer with us. This was almost 30 years ago. So we've opened up shows in this era with the passing of Vince McMahon's stepmother. We've opened up episodes with singing "Happy Birthday" to Freddie Blassie. This just feels really like the end of that In Your House Kitty era of television, and we're starting to get. I mean, listen, we all know the catalyst is WrestleMania 14 for when it's officially the Austin era. But this just feels like a time more 94 than it does 1998.
Yeah, I thought it was really cringy. I do like Freddie Blassie, but I mean, that's he's he I don't think he was calling Sonny a pencil head
Pencil neck geek.
There we go. But it is what it is. It's with the times, and just not like you said, odd to start the show this way.
Yeah, well, we kick off the show proper the way it probably should have been in 1998. The glass shatters. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes to the ring doing his best impersonation of Santa Claus because he's got a big bag with him. We're going to find out what that is shortly. But he addresses Shawn Michaels, and this was really refreshing because we went so many weeks, and obviously they interacted last week, and that's what this is about. We went so many weeks without these guys addressing each other. We know the WrestleMania press conference happened, and now it feels like we're full swing into this feud because Austin gets his comeuppance here. He says, "You don't rub a championship belt in Stone Cold Steve Austin's face and get away with it." He said, "There's no way out for Shawn Michaels on Sunday," which is ironic because, as we know, HBK no shows this pay-per-view. But DX that appears on the Titantron, and well, Shawn looks really, really rough here. Like he looked pretty bad at the WrestleMania press conference. He's clearly into his bag, all pun intended here, in this episode. Shawn says that he was the puppet master with Austin last week, pulling Austin strings along the way, and he punked out Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, we had talked about that. We did not like how that looked, but obviously they're telling a story here, so we got to go along for the ride. He says that Austin needs to realize that HBK calls the shots, not him. But if Austin could provide one good reason why, he'll come out there and address Stone Cold again this week. And Austin says he thought this might happen, and that's why he stole Shawn's WWF Championship. And just leaves it at that, right? Like it was like, I thought there was going to be more. And Shawn kind of chuckles and says, "Nice try, but the WWF title is right here." And he pulls out his bag and pulls out a styrofoam version of the WWF Championship. I love this for personal reasons. I actually had this replica belt when I was a kid, the same exact one. But it obviously, we're going back. Like we've seen the ratings go up while Steve Austin is stealing championships and throwing them off bridges. So we're kind of doubling down here, but changing it up a little bit. I thought this was really clever.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I was a little confused at first. I was like, I don't remember him stealing the belt, but I mean, we don't need to see it. I guess
it's off camera, yeah.
Right. But like you said, it is looking like the cheese is starting to slide off that cracker for Shawn Michaels. He looked pretty rough in this segment, but I'm glad that I can appreciate that they're actually doing stuff with these two, actually building towards, No Way Out. Granted, Shawn won't be there, but building more so to Mania. So I'm glad they're at least going all the way into it.
Austin then pulls the proper WWF Championship, the gold, the Wing Eagle gold belt, out of the bag he brought to the ring. Instead of Shawn wants it back, all he's got to do is come to the ring and take it from him later tonight. This sets up, we kind of talked about this a couple weeks ago, the running theme of the night of how DX is going to get the WWF Championship back from Stone Cold Steve Austin before the pay-per-view. And that's a theme throughout the night that we're going to see backstage kind of play out, and kind of a theme of what we kind of see with Stone Cold Steve Austin getting the better of people off camera and behind the scenes a little bit. But the first match of the night is the LOD versus Barry Windham and Jeff Jarrett. Now, on paper, this should be a great match. But the commentators kind of set up for us what this is going to be before it even happens. Just hammering home how the LOD is on a losing streak and don't quite look like the Legion of Doom of old. And it starts off early by Hawk getting dumped outside, and the NWA guys beating him down. They hit him with steel steps, and the official doesn't even notice, to the point that JR has to point it out, how Earl Hebner doesn't even notice what's going on the outside of the ring. And they roll him back in, and before anything else happens, Jeff Jarrett tries hitting him with the figure four. Bradshaw hits the ring, chases the NWA guys out, and just leaves the Road Warriors standing in the middle of the ring looking like a bunch of goofs.
No, I was just gonna say it's just so strange, and we'll see at the pay-per-view how much they're focusing on Bradshaw, which I'm okay with because he's looking like $1 million here. But I just feel like it's very strange that that's the one that they're focusing on building up, not this NWA group, not LOD.
We're sacrificing the Road Warriors.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? And to your point, this doesn't do anything for the LOD at the pay-per-view. They're not even on the card.
No. I don't know what we're doing here.
We go backstage where DX is there when we come back from commercial break, and DX has figured out a way to get Shawn Michaels' belt back, and Chyna is whispering. To this point, she still hasn't openly talked during a promo, and Shawn and Hunter start laughing and think they've got something pretty big. And it plays into what actually happens in the main event of No Way Out, and who is going to replace Shawn Michaels, which is almost a wet fart in church when we get it. But when you watch these rewatches back, like looking back in hindsight in 2025, seems like a really stupid option. And we talk about this in the pay-per-view rewatch. It was kind of the only one.
Right. Yeah. they didn't really have an abundance of top heels at this point that weren't already doing something.
Mhm.
So they
'Cause of
are
course they didn't. It's the go home show before
right.
the pay-per-view.
Exactly. So they're teasing what they can, and I, after rewatching this episode, I can at least appreciate that they're already trying to buffer you for who they're going for. So it's still, like you said, is a wet fart in church when we get the surprise fourth man at the main event of the pay-per-view. But I can appreciate that they're at least trying to tease stuff here.
We get the most head scratching match of the pay per view prelim before this because we get Pierre of the Quebecers versus Henry Godwin. And we learn that the Quebecers caused the Godwins a match on Shotgun Saturday night. So this leads to this match, and somehow it leads to this tag team match that eventually happens on the pay per view, being the second longest match of the night, where there are no stakes and no build up to it, essentially, other than this match. But I thought I thought this match was actually really good. It might be why they were allowed so much TV time on the pay per view with the leg drop and the top from the top rope, and then that senton that was missed by Pierre and the dive to the outside. This was like Pierre got some really good stuff in here, and it was probably trying to use as much TV time as he could to maybe split off from the tag team and get his stuff in.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth there because that's how I looked at it. He kind of just wanted to go out there and showcase himself because I mean his partner is Jacques, who's at this point an aging.
Yeah,
He was
very limited.
So that he still has potential in his own right. So going out there and just trying to maximizing your minutes out there, I can appreciate that, but. I don't know. I have no interest in this feud whatsoever.
Neither does anybody else. We get a rinse and repeat of this in the pay-per-view too, where the slot buckets come into play and the Quebecers get in a cheap shot, but Phineas is one step ahead. The referee's distracted. He hits Pierre with the slot bucket, and the Quebecers lose again. Remember that for how it plays out at the pay-per-view. It's important, I guess. It comes back up. I don't want to call it important. Speaking of important, we get to the backstage area, and Los Boricuas are playing dominoes, and Chyna interrupts them and slams her hands down on the table and messes up their game. And she speaks, but in fluent Spanish. And I don't remember this, and I don't think I realized that Jenny Lauer was a fluent Spanish speaker either. But she convinces the Boricuas to help find the WWF Championship and get Stone Cold Steve Austin. But this is a running theme. They've been a hired gun by DX for the last month. They jumped every one of their opponents last week, including Stone Cold Steve Austin. So of course, it's got to be the Boricuas to help her out here.
All right, and like I said, that's what they're teasing here for the pay-per-view. It's such a weird bedfellow situation with these guys that they've at least to their credit been continuing to stay consistent with, but it's I don't know. Very muy impresioso of of Chyna to speak in Spanish, but that's all I enjoyed in that little segment there.
It's just because we know what's coming. It's just so evident how bare and young the talent roster is at this point, because we're a couple weeks away from a pretty major debut for becomes a staple tag team for the next couple of decades.
Yes.
And there was just so many better options. They just haven't quite made it there yet. And speaking of young talent, we get the Brian Christopher versus Taka Michinoku division next. I mean, the light heavyweight division next.
It's basically been their division.
It's Taka Michinoku and Aguila versus Pantera, who's taking on Taka at the pay-per-view for the championship. And of course, his partner could only be too sexy Brian Christopher. There were some really good spots in this match. At one point, Aguila monkey flips Pantera to the outside and lands on his face.
Yeah.
Aguila hits that awesome-looking standing corkscrew dive to the outside, and Taka hits his big dive, which we know is a staple of this run for him.
Yeah.
This match was really good, which really sucks because this match gets crapped all over at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, the crowd's just not into the division, which I don't get. I mean, I understand they're not invested in the guys that they don't know, but they're doing the most impressive stuff out of anybody on the roster. So it's kind of disheartening that they're not getting into it, but it's also WWF's fault for not really giving the credible push beyond the division. But all four are very talented, and I had a good time with this match. Might as well just watch it on mute.
Yeah,
but it was a good time.
I like the ending because Brian Christopher pulls out the brass knucks and gives it to Pantera, and he hides them in his mask and does a diving headbutt to utilize them because they're hidden. The referee can't see him, which would have been a really cool spot.
Yeah.
Except for he basically fell on his hand. It looked like a karate chop instead of a brass knuck shot. And then Brian Christopher hides the brass knucks back down his trunks in a very, very, very weird manner. Go back and watch it if you need to. But the heels do heel things and get the win here. And I guess it's building to the fact that Pantera may be able to unseat Taka Michinoku at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, because Brian Christopher clearly can. I did have a funny thought with that brass knuckles and the mask. Because is that? Do you think that's what WWE now is doing on the playbook scouting with the El Grande Americano?
The greatest masked luchador of all time is probably not stealing things from Pantera.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Just throwing that out there.
You got it.
We just talked about the lack of viable heels on the roster. The next guy is arguably the biggest, baddest, scariest heel of all time. Kane comes out to shoot a promo here. He's taking on Vader at the pay-per-view, and he just tombstoned the Mastodon at the last on the last Raw, and he almost botched the spot, but was able to get him up. And Paul Bearer comes out and talks about how everybody was impressed that he was able to do it. It's not Vader time. And he pulls out one of those Vader clocks that they legitimately sold on WWE shop back in the day. And Kane, I guess, uses his.
Did you have that one?
I did not.
Okay.
I guess Kane uses magic here because the clock just catches on fire. Paul Bearer says it's at No Way Out it won't be Vader time, and promises that the Undertaker will not be at No Way Out because he's gone forever. I thought it was weird that we let Vader get his comeuppance on Kane last week with the fire extinguisher, and then we just get Kane lighting a clock on fire here. But I guess maybe Vader had some time off on this Monday night.
Yeah, he had some Vader time off.
Yeah. I can't believe I missed that pun. Nice catch. Nice catch. But up next is one of the most memorable moments of the entire Attitude Era. And somehow it comes in a match where Ken Shamrock and Chains are taking on Rock and Farouk. And The Rock in this time is doing this thing where he's taking very outside of WWF topical things like genetic cloning.
Yes.
And giving his thoughts on them. And he says that the only time that genetic cloning should be acceptable is if they clone The Rock because he's the people's champion, the best damn intercontinental champion of all time. And none of these people in attendance are worth cloning. And obviously, the Rocky sucks chants reign in and probably the loudest chants of the night.
Right.
But we're going to talk about this at the pay-per-view about how underutilized Farouk is at this time. He gets in first, and he lets Shamrock and Chains get all of their stuff in here and is bumping all over the ring from they get the Rock in, the tag happens, and Shamrock still gets his stuff in, but then the Rock does the chicken shit heel thing and pans over to the corner and points at the referee and tells him to get Ken Shamrock's ass back. But it's just, we just keep getting these little droplets of what is to come with this guy and how much talent he's got and just how good he is at reading the crowd. And even if you're a heel, there's different ways to do a cutoff, and it doesn't have to be the same. Back him down to the corner, utilize tag team action to seal a guy off. This feels different than anything else on the roster.
Yes. He's been obviously the highlight, a big highlight of every show that we've been watching because he's getting me excited about a Chains match. And that ain't no part to Chains. No disrespect, but
yeah,
he wrestles conceitedly. He's such a good, selfish little prick, but also arrogant. I don't know. I'm digging everything Rocky's doing. He's putting over cloning. Even in the late 90s, nobody cared about this.
Yeah, I'm glad nothing more has come to fruition of cloning, by the way. I'm just going to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Chains gets back into the ring, and they get stumped to the outside and jumped by the Nation. I just assumed, because I forgot what was coming after this, this was going to be into the match because this is how all of these matches have ended up until this point. But it's not. And Chains gets thrown back in the ring, and the Rock hits the people's elbow, tags in Farouk. And Chains, the face in this match, keep in mind, he's supposed to be the good guy. The biker gang member is supposed to be the face here.
Yes.
And he low blows Farouk, and that gets the hot tag to Shamrock, another massive pop. Then the brawl breaks out, but Shamrock gets the belly-to-belly in on Farouk and locks in the ankle lock. And then one of the greatest chair shots of all time.
Got a chair! Oh, man!
there's so many layers to this, because not only is the chair shot just bone rattling, but the way Jerry Lawler laughs at this chair shot just seals the whole thing. This is our meat and potatoes of the show, because The
What
Rock
else?
annihilates
Yeah.
Ken Shamrock with this chair shot. The ref doesn't see it. Farouk, I think I heard this was in Evansville, Indiana. I think I heard it in Omaha, Nebraska in real time when it happened. But Shamrock snaps, attacks the officials, and his teammates have to hold him back. And this is a storyline going into No Way Out for. This is the legit name of this match, the War of Attrition match.
Yep.
And it's fine. I mean, this stuff is almost coming to an end after WrestleMania, and it just can't get here fast enough.
I'm not for those wild kind of chair shots for people's, brain trauma and whatnot, but holy crap. Like, I feel like they made like a carbon mold.
Jeez, Dwayne.
Yeah.
He almost hit him so hard it cloned him.
Yeah.
Speaking of WrestleMania, we get the WrestleMania press conference review next, and we find out maybe the most disappointing news of 1998, if we're being honest. Mike Tyson is going to be the special enforcer on the outside of the ring for Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels, and they've done such a good job promoting this that there's a possibility we're going to get Tyson and Austin, or some semblance of Mike Tyson in ring doing something, that this kind of fell flat on its face. I'll say this though. Tyson was really good on the mic during all this, between the stuff saying that he thinks Austin needs to be nicer and be a lover, not a fighter, and literally gets Triple H to pop during the press conference. And they do all of that, and then we get that really tense moment where Austin palms Shawn Michaels' face, and you could see how much it rattled not only HBK but Triple H too, to the point that Hunter kind of jumps in and shoves Austin too. And this was all to set up Mike Tyson being able to split them apart, because we also get the newspaper clippings and the TV outlet package that show, how big of a deal this was and how many people are covering it. But I thought that was really important because of the way last Monday went, where HBK backed Austin down, and it kind of looked like Steve was hesitant to do his shtick with a guy that probably isn't the easiest to deal with this time in Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's good. They're doing a good job at making this personal going into Mania. But part of me wonders if Steve's like, I know what kind of mental frame he's in right now. So I know this is gonna piss him off, but I gotta make it look good, and it's gonna get all the buzz going towards that match. So they got to do what they got to do. And another time, Shawn looked pretty rough here. So.
Speaking of DX and Steve Austin, we cut to China and the Barrique was looking for Austin backstage, trying to find the WWF Championship. They can't find him, but they find Hansie Harvey Whippleman, and this is so cool. China picks up Harvey Whippleman and pins him up against the wall, and we've done such a good job of selling her as this monster. This felt like the perfect timing to do something like this.
Yes, and Harvey Whippleman is so freaking tiny, so why not just get his bag of bones up there and make China look strong.
Up next, we get Steve Blackman versus Recon, and Steve Blackman does that really cool. He's got his sticks painted with glowing paint. They look like glow sticks. It does a pretty badass routine in the middle of the ring, which somehow is not the weirdest thing that happens in the next 3 minutes. But he's taking on Ghost Recon of the Truth Commission, which is somehow still a thing going into this. But the match starts. And Don Callis, the Jackal, projects down on an actual podium from the ceiling that's chained to the roof. Mm-hmm. This bombastic entrance is the response to the smear campaign that the WWF is running against him. The problem is nobody is talking about the Jackal right now. Oh, and by the way, where the hell is Kurgan? Yeah. I don't know. Hats off to Don Callis for trying something with this crappy stable, and these guys are just kind of booked into purgatory. I don't know, man. They lose again. Recon misses a top rope leg drop. Blackman locks in the wrapped guillotine. Recon loses, so it's pointless. And then Jackal gets off of the podium, buries the Truth Commission about how crappy they are, essentially, and then again smacks Recon and walks away. The biggest problem is not only is this bad and awful, because it is, and no offense to Steve Blackman, because he looked great in this. On the other channel, in the middle of a ratings war, you're getting Hulk Hogan versus the Macho Man Randy Savage. And your alternate response to that is Steve Blackman, a guy who's, by all intents and purposes, very talented, but been around for 6 weeks, versus the crappiest stable you have in the company.
What? I for one, prefer Blackman and Recon over Macho. I'm just kidding.
But there's a reason in 1998 the WWF is losing this war.
Yes, and I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping at this point that the Truth Commission was fizzling out here, and Don Callis as a Jackal was done, because it's just been cringy and like very, very like squeamish. Not squeamish. Like skeezy with the dots on the young people's heads and stuff.
Yeah, so for anybody that's showing us for the first time, the Jackal this time has a jewel piece that he's wearing in the middle of his forehead. And over the last 4 weeks, he's given a jewel piece to audience members, and most of them have been like 15 to 12-year-old girls. And it's really bad for all the wrong reasons.
Yes. And so I thought that was done. And when, I don't know, let's
just move on.
Yeah.
Because one of the highlights of the show, week in, week out, has been the New Age Outlaws, and they're up next. And they come out and they reenact the dumpster spot from a few weeks, or from last week, with Chainsaw Charlie and Mick Foley, but they have blow-up dolls dressed like Mick and Terry Funk in the dumpster. The scary moment here is when they throw this dumpster off the stage, it slides and rolls, and it looks like it may land on top of the fans a few feet away. And you can almost hear Billy go, "Ah!"
Yeah.
Because there was clearly worry about that happening.
Yeah, I even said, like, oh shit, like I thought that was going over. It's like, I don't remember.
It did not look good. Yeah.
No.
They do. This is the last time they do this, and it's clear why.
Yes, yeah, because you're pretty damn close to endangering your live audience. So, but let's just not dick around with throwing the dumpsters at people.
Yeah, let's not throw thousands of pounds of metal at people that are paying to attend.
That's right.
But this builds to what we see at the end of the night, but also to the 8-man tag that we have coming up in the main event of the pay-per-view. But we cut back to China and the Bariquas. They split up to go find Stone Cold at this point. And Austin slides up behind the Bariquas and locks them in a room. And then China finds them, and she can't get them out either. She flips the table, so we're still leaving her as a threat. And building to China versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's important. Remember that for the pay-per-view and the way it ends.
Absolutely. China's really, it feels like the fifth or sixth like big key player that they got right now. So
yeah, they're building her up huge.
Absolutely.
The main event for the go home show before No Way Out of Texas 1998 is Thrasher versus Goldust. No, I'm not kidding. That's the last match we see of this show, and I'm not even gonna go into this. I mean, the highlight of it, there's no highlights here.
No.
It ends up with a roll up. Sable slaps Luna, and that's it. Again, the problem isn't that this is the last match. The problem is on the other channel, you're getting the Steiner brothers versus the Outsiders for the WCW Tag Team Championship. You want to know who wins this week in the Raw in the War ratings? Spoiler alert: it's not Vince McMahon's promotion, and I can't put my finger on why. I mean, we know that we end up getting the mixed tag match between Luna and Goldust versus Mero and Sable, and I mean, Sable's the second hottest thing on the show right now behind Stone Cold Steve Austin,
right?
And they're trying to utilize her, but like, do this instead of the Jackal stuff, like,
right?
And why the headbanger? Like, I don't know. It just.
I feel like even Chains and Shamrock versus Farouk and Rock should have been in this spot or something.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Put the Rock in your second hour.
Yeah,
might not be a bad idea. It's the Rock.
I was baffled that this was the main event, but it's just kind of. I'm trying to look at it as we're almost getting out of this crappy era and we're full steam ahead on something good, but it's taken a minute to get there on some of these things.
DX finishes the show out because we haven't got the conclusion of the WWF Championship chase, and HBK does a really good job of selling how important Sunday is, the pay-per-view, even though he doesn't appear on the show. But then the glass shatters because obviously because obviously it has to. And Austin comes out and he tries to use the WWF Championship as a weapon. That kind of clears the ring. But then the Outlaws come out and they attempt to surround the ring and jump Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is such a cool spot. You hear the chainsaw fire up, and Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie cut their way through the bottom of the ring. Owen Hart emerges and runs down, and DX scammers away, but it allows the faces to leave the heels laying. They beat down the Outlaws, but DX runs away with the belt, and they look really happy and like celebratory here. But Sean's the champion, so it probably shouldn't have been that big of a deal,
Right.
even with the Mike Tyson stuff. And revisionist history has told us that this was the turning point in getting Mike Tyson was such a big deal. And it's really not until after WrestleMania, because Raw drops 2 points in the ratings this week. And it's a lot to do with what we've been talking about here. But, the Mike Tyson stuff is full swing here. And we're pushing towards Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. And you're going to get Ken Shamrock versus The Rock for the Intercontinental Championship, which we find out in the show too. And they're getting momentum, but it's not consistent. No. And a lot of it is because they have an identity crisis. Like, they know they've got Austin, they know they've got DX, and it doesn't really feel like they have any idea what else they have.
Yes, and like you said, hit the nail on the head. There was the identity crisis, because there's some very talented people there that they just don't know where to plug or how to dress them up and character wise. So, I mean, they get there, but and it's also by proxy at this point, because WCW has really just gave a good product overall.
We didn't even mention on the other channel, you got Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio in a tag team match. Like Nitro, this episode of Nitro on February 2nd, February 9th, 1998. Go back and rewatch it. It was a fantastic show.
See, I'd rewatch that tag match like 4 or 5 different times in place of this episode of Raw.
Listen, you wouldn't be disappointed, even though the match kind of ends weird. But let's grade the show. I wrote down C-. I'm giving it a D, man. This was not a good show.
Damn it. I really thought I was going to have to lower one. I said D+, because I was going towards F, but I'm not gonna lie, I was a sucker for the chainsaw spot there at the end, and I can't give a grade to F with that gnarly chair shot that Ken Shamrock took. So
the other reason it's lower for me is like the Austin stuff was fine, like it was good, I guess, but like it's not what we remember this era for. You know what I remember? What I mean? So that's but listen, that's gonna do it for our episode of the rewatch of Monday Night Raw from February 9th, 1998. It is time for the No Way Out of Texas, the end of an era, the very last in your house version of a pay-per-view. Conrad Thompson from Ad Free Shows and SaveWithConrad.com is going to join us to rewatch that with us. You're not going to want to miss it. It's fantastic. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Analyzing Attitude to enter yourself into that drawing to win a free PlayStation 5. Give us an oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.